All right, let's just jump right in. When you think about the giants of astronomy, the people who really set the stage for modern science, you probably picture these, I don't know, quiet, super focused observers, right? But what if I told you that one of the most important ones was a hot-headed Danish nobleman who actually lost his nose in a sword fight and had to wear a metal one for the rest of his life? Yeah, let's talk about Tycho Brahe. And look, don't get me wrong. Behind all these wild stories, Tycho's contribution to science is absolutely massive. I mean, this is the guy who collected the most accurate, the most detailed astronomical data of his time. And he did it all without a telescope. It was this literal mountain of numbers, of precise measurements, that his assistant, a guy named Johannes Kepler, would later use to finally figure out the laws of how planets actually move. But here's the crazy thing. For all of that incredible science, the story that people have been obsessed with for centuries, it isn't about a star. It's about a sword. So why on earth is he most famous for getting into a fight over math? Seriously, it's a story that, honestly, it tells you everything you need to know about who this guy was. And his whole timeline just shows you just how stubborn this guy was. So picture it. It's 1566. A 20-year-old Tycho is at a party in Germany, and he gets into an argument with his own cousin. And what are they arguing about? Who's the better mathematician? They can't settle it, so they decide the only logical thing to do is wait 2 weeks and then fight it out with swords, in the dark. I mean, come on. The result? Totally predictable. Tycho loses the bridge of his nose. So this whole thing kicks off the legend of the man with the golden nose. For hundreds of years, the story was that he wore this incredible prosthetic made of gold and silver. It's a great story, right? But it's just not true. Fast forward to 2010, scientists actually exhume his body, and when they analyze his skull, they don't find any gold. What they do find are traces of two other metals, copper and zinc. And that combination of copper and zinc, well, that tells you everything. It means Tycho's famous legendary nose was actually made of brass. Plain old brass. And I don't know, that detail just makes him feel less like some mythical figure and more like a real kind of weird human being, you know? A guy who probably used a little bit of putty to stick his brass nose on every morning. But here's the thing. That same fiery, uncompromising personality, the kind of person who would rather fight a duel than admit he might be wrong about a math problem, that was exactly the personality the world needed for what was about to happen. Because he was going to take that same stubborn obsession with the truth and point it at the stars. And in doing so, he was about to challenge a view of the universe that had been set in stone for 2,000 years. And that brings us to the moment that really changed everything, not just for Tycho, but for all of astronomy. And it didn't start with some grand theory. It started with something he just saw. Okay, so you have to understand, for literally thousands of years, going all the way back to Aristotle, the belief was that the heavens were perfect. They were eternal, unchanging. The stars were fixed, part of this divine, flawless cosmic machine. And then, on a random November night in 1572, Tycho looks up and sees something that just flat out shouldn't be there. A new star, shining brighter than anything else, in a spot where there was nothing before. I mean, this was such a profound shock to how everyone understood the universe that even Tycho himself, the guy who saw it, couldn't believe it at first. In his book about it, The Nova Stella, he actually wrote, "I was led to wonder whether, indeed, I could trust my own eyes." Think about that. This wasn't just a new data point. It was a full-blown crisis of belief. And his proof wasn't just him saying, "Hey, I saw a thing." No. It was documented with insane precision. What you're looking at here is Tycho's own diagram, where he mapped the exact position of this new star, which we now know was a supernova, relative to the familiar stars in the constellation Cassiopeia. He didn't just see it once. He measured it, night after night after night. So the key test for him was something called parallax. It's actually pretty simple. Just hold your finger out in front of you. Now close one eye, then the other. See how your finger seems to jump against the background? That's parallax. The idea was, if this new star was close, like in our atmosphere or something, it should do the same thing against the background of the really distant stars as the Earth moved. But Tycho's super precise measurements showed nothing. No shift, no parallax at all. And that was the smoking gun. It was undeniable proof that this new thing was way, way out there in the realm of the fixed stars, where change was supposed to be impossible. And just like that, 2,000 years of philosophy was shattered by raw data.
So that discovery just lit a fire under him. I mean, if the old books were wrong, then the only way forward was to build a whole new foundation, one based purely on observation. And to do that, well, he needed a whole new kind of laboratory.
So, with a ton of funding from the King of Denmark, he built Uraniborg, the Castle of the Heavens. And this place was completely revolutionary. It wasn't just some tower with a couple of instruments. This was pretty much the first dedicated state-funded research institute in European history. It had workshops, a library, an alchemy lab, even its own printing press to publish the findings. It was a whole shebang. And inside Uraniborg, Tycho didn't just look at the stars. He totally revolutionized the how. I mean, the way you actually do astronomy. His instruments were massive, built from metal and stone so they'd be incredibly stable. He even built a second observatory, Stellarbergum, mostly underground to protect everything from the wind. He came up with new ways to read the scales for more precision. He was obsessed with analyzing and correcting for every tiny error in his instruments. And, this is huge, he was the first person to systematically correct his data for the way our atmosphere bends light. This was really the birth of the modern scientific method, this fanatical belief that precise, corrected, repeatable data is the only thing that matters. And all this work was for one goal, to get his margin of error down to less than 1 arc minute. Now, what's an arc minute? It's 1/60th of a single degree. It's about the width of a human hair seen from 20 feet away. To even aim for that level of accuracy with no telescopes, it was unheard of. It was just an insane, fanatical devotion to getting the numbers right. So after all that passion, all that precision, all that money, what did it all lead to? What is the real legacy of the duelist with the brass nose? Well, here's what's so fascinating. After all that brilliant observation, Tycho's own theory about how the universe worked, it was this weird, complicated hybrid model, it was wrong. But in the end, that doesn't even matter, because his real legacy, his true gift to the future, wasn't a theory, it was the data. You can just see the path laid out so clearly. Step 1, a new star appears and Tycho sees it. Step 2, that sparks a quest for incredible precision, which leads to his amazing observatory. Step 3, that observatory produces a lifetime of the best astronomical data the world had ever seen. And step 4, that data falls into the hands of Johannes Kepler, who uses it to finally crack the code of the cosmos and give us the laws of planetary motion. It's a direct line. So here's the bottom line. The entire scientific revolution, our whole modern understanding of the cosmos, it all hinged on the numbers collected by this fiery, stubborn, brilliant man. You take away the obsessive work of the duelist with the brass nose, and Kepler has nothing to work with. The whole revolution gets delayed. Who knows for how long? And it really leaves you with a powerful thought, doesn't it? Tycho's story is this incredible reminder that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs don't come from a brilliant new theory. They come from someone having the courage and the sheer stubbornness to just measure things better than anyone has before. It kind of makes you wonder, what unchanging truths are we challenging today just by looking a little more closely at the data?